There's a big rift in our family because my brother married into a Barnaby. You know, there's a Barnaby Aurelio's mix, so that's like it's a battle, and we all work.
People have become socks. You guys have pizza problems.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Chiaspora, the show where we interview those who left Chicago, but Chicago never left them. Today we have
Al Capone.
Al Capone. we have a gun in the room. Today we have a man. You'll know him from a lot of things, actually, but obviously for people who grew up in the 90s like myself, you'll know him from the Mighty Ducks. You were in Home Alone. You had like a little thing in there.
If it was in Chicago in the 90s,
You were in it.
I was either in it or I cried on the bathroom floor because I didn't.
Right. You were one of those kids.
Yeah.
But Matt Doherty.
You have the Prudential Building growing out of your head.
Here,
right now,
take a look at this, everybody.
It's great. It's really
that
interesting.
See, at least you know.
Yeah.
Because some people, they don't know. But you do.
They should.
Matt Doherty, everybody. He is a very funny guy. Ever since he was a young kid. You are the first child actor that I've had on this show, and I have so many questions. What it's like being a Chicago child actor, because it's a different ball game than being from LA proper.
Yeah,
it's a different sacrifice, I'd imagine.
And I find my dialect getting stronger
as you get older,
which is really funny. Like I know you notice, it's like I can be like, "Hey man, I'm in California for a while," and then when I start talking to people from it's just like and our dialect is not known to be the sexiest.
As soon as I open the door, you ask me for a bratwurst.
Yeah.
That was a little weird, but it's okay.
So the question was, I grew up. What is it like to grow up in Chicago? But like a hyphenate Chicago style
actor.
The Chicago style child actor is with the green neon relish and the celery salt, and
right.
And no ketchup, only mustard, and the yellow kind. None of that fancy stuff. No.
Well, we could start from the beginning if you'd like.
Yeah. So I grew up. I mean, I just started doing. I mean, as most people know, like, and it still is kind of true. And it's Chicago's such a great theater town, man, and always will be. And one of the things that allows that theater town to be what it is that the industrial commercials and the commercial work, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Even though I'm hearing it's changing a little bit.
It's changing because I think a lot of the ad agencies that are based in Chicago. Now a lot of them want to like wine and dine their clients, and so they go out to the coasts in order to like,
right. It's true.
Do the things. Maybe they want to do a bunch of sugar. I don't know, and go stay in Santa Monica. But like the thing is it used to be like that time, and that's the bread and butter of so many great actors that like that helps pay their bills.
Yeah.
And I was just a kid, and and I had red hair and freckles. I had red hair here and freckles here, not opposite. And then it's nice to make visual gags when you're on the radio too. But yeah, so it just was timing is everything, man. They were making lots of commercials, and I was a cute bite and smile kid.
Was your parents pushing or was it you pushing?
Nobody was pushing, man.
How did he? Yeah, that's what I'm curious. How were you in grammar school at the time, and you knew? Where'd you go to grammar school, by the way?
I went to grammar school in McKinley. Well, that was Greenwood Elementary and McKinley, and that was in South Holland, Illinois. It's funny because whenever I have a buddy named Dominic, and he does.
One of my best friends, Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic, Dominic's
Dom.
Like, he's out here. He's like, hey man, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Chicago. He goes, nah, what are you from? He's like, Downers Grove. That's not Chicago.
Right on the outskirts. You're not in.
So,
but the funny thing is, this is what I tell people when you're in LA.
You're from Chicago.
You could be like 45 miles out, and no.
I think Crete Moniz is the cutoff.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
But yeah, my family is a South Side family for generations.
Well, you're a Sox fan. Show
them
the hat.
I had the hat on.
Show them the hat.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Baseball. I called my dad the other day and I said it was the day before spring training starting, and I said I feel like it's the World Series because we finally got a team.
They put money down this year.
I mean, I had a buddy in Vegas, and I guess they were only taking bets on the whole thing. I wanted to bet that they would win the AL Central, but even I'm not so crazy. I was.
Well,
I can't put $25.
You don't want to jinx it
on the whole pennant because I just was like,
which I get.
But it was a point of contact. I was like, this is the first year in many years where I feel like. And I felt like it was the day before the World Series, and it was just spring training.
But no, dude, if they don't perform well, I'll be actually a little surprised.
Yeah, well,
they're going to have a good year.
They're young.
I grew up on the north side, so
I won't fault you.
No, but here's the funny thing: I never hated the Sox ever. In 2005, I was so happy. We've talked about it on the show.
You're a better person than me.
No, you didn't like it in 2016.
I will say that there was that part of me, but it is the part of me I hate about myself that was secretly like when that ring came, I was like, they're gonna do it again on the national stage. Steve Goodman, God rest his soul, is gonna rise from wherever it is that he went from, with the guitar in his hand. And
that's so funny. If anybody doesn't know, he's the one who wrote "It's Go Cubs Go." That was his song.
Well, he wrote, and he also wrote "A Dying Cub Fan's Last Request," which, if anyone hasn't seen that or heard that,
what is that?
It's one of the. I'm a folk songwriter.
I know you are.
He's a hero of mine. Like him and John Prine were just heroes in their friendship. But like, he wrote a tune called "The Dying Cub Fan's Last Request," which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
That's wild.
I'm sure the Cub fans who are of a certain age,
they know about it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
By the way, just curious, how old are you now?
I'm 12.
Yeah, exactly.
No. In dog years. No, I'm 42.
42. So
I mean, I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm not a woman, so I guess
no.
That's the double standard bullshit. Like, I can get away with that.
I don't. First of all, no one should ever give a shit about it.
Can I swear?
Yes, you can swear.
Okay.
I actually never cared. The age thing doesn't matter. I feel like even more so today than ever. Because I feel like, well, especially in LA, no one does anything until they're like 55 anyway. So it's.
I mean, I was told when I was in my 20s, when I was starting to, I was looking like a dirty cherub. You know, I like a little pickled, and I wasn't so cute for a little while, and like this agent had told me at the time, he's like, oh, Matt, you go get a life, you know. He's like, he wasn't from Chicago.
Yeah, clearly not.
He's like, you go get a life. I was out here in LA. He's like, because you're not going to work for like 20 years, you know. You're not going to work till in your 40s, and I'm real serious about that. You might like work a little bit here and there, you know. So
why? Because like the child actor, and then there's a stretch of.
You know what? I think, you know, I think you kind of like look at Josh Brolin, you know.
That's a good example.
You kind of got to get forgotten to get rediscovered again, and like I think in my case, I had to grow into, like I had this like accidental baby face, but old soul. So it was just like, it was fucked, man. But so I had to like kind of like somehow bring them all together.
But the flip on that though is, my guess is when you're in front of the camera with directors, they're probably like, oh, this kid's cool. Like we can work with this kid.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
I would have. I mean, if I saw a kid who's like, all right, let's just do this. Let's do, you know, goofy on camera, but really serious about like doing it for real. Those are the best kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, you know this. You probably have had, you know. I'm proud of, like, we export good people out of Chicago to California. I think we raised the bar out here.
We are the greatest.
But we're really humble about it.
Right? No. We're humble to everybody up to ourselves. It's like, no, we got this. Because the thing is,
I forgot how polite everything is. Though. When I went home recently, I was like,
family still there?
I wanted a straight, I kind of wanted like a straight answer. And I was like, there was this element of like, we're so weirdly polite. You know, it's wonderful. But you kind of got to cut and go, wait, is that like a real thing, or is that like this is like be a nice thing, you know?
Well, I joke around with my friend, my friend Dom, when we talk about the Southsiders specifically.
Oh yeah,
it's there's racism, there's bigotry, and then all of a sudden they're the sweetest angels in the world. It's like, you know, that Donald Trump's a goddamn genius. By the way, you know, black people, whatever. But do you want me to fix your entire house? Like,
totally.
It's like, wait, what? You just said something horrible about
Yeah, I agree, man. There's a definite South Side thing. Well, I think one of my favorite stories about Chicago of all time was a friend of my brother's was moving into some gentrifying neighborhood or whatever, and like it was not a good thing, and there's some gunshots and. You know, like, and there was one of Chicago's finest. You know.
Was that a Freudian slip? Or?
It's an intended thing. So he was eating a combo at a place. You know, he had the bib on. And he's like eating this thing, and the guy runs in there and he goes, "Excuse me, officer, there's somebody shooting over here. Somebody shooting at down." And he's like,
"I'll get to it in 5."
And he's eating a combo, and he's like, "Let me ask you a question there.
Oh God,
was he shooting at you?" And the guy's like, no, officer, but there's gunshots. He's like, well, what the fuck do you care?
Oh, my God.
And I was like, I heard that story, and I was like, damn, you know?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, we were trying to explain Chicago to my lady. She's not from there. And my brother, John, put it perfectly. He was like, you know, nobody, as long as the streets are clean, right? As long as the streets are clean.
Everybody's cool.
You know, like it's all right. The streets are clean in the winter. That's okay. Whatever. Nobody asks too many questions. We'll get Kennedy elected. It's okay. You know,
The behind the scenes stuff. I don't like to even think about that.
Such an interesting. I mean, it really is an interesting history in terms of any city in America.
Well,
for sure.
it's people loved Kennedy, Obama, but I'm sure behind the scenes there's so much shit that's happened.
Yeah. So Chicago, I mean, but I'm a huge fan of the new mayor, man.
Have you ever met any of these politicians when you were kind of growing up and never got like the key to the city or any of that crap?
No, God, no. Don't trust an actor with anything.
No.
Have you ever eaten with one, man? Don't do that.
I feel like you had to have had some perk growing up when you were a kid. Come back.
The great, now late great Chet Kopic, right? The Chet Kopic passed away, isn't that? If I didn't, then I'm really sorry, Chet. But I did a thing at Cubs. I call it Cubs Stadium, Wrigley Field, and I did it for Donruss baseball cards.
Oh, man, that's a throwback.
You talk about perks, and this isn't political, but getting to know like the machine of Chicago politics or any of that stuff. But I got to go, and I was a Sox fan, so I wore my Sox jersey to work that day. It was for Donruss baseball cards, and I was a huge baseball kid. And I think I still have some photos of it too. And we were in like up in the press booth, and we were pretending to be like, it was for an industrial, and I was like a broadcaster with Chet Kopic.
How old are you at this point?
Like 11, 12, 13, something like that.
This is the prime time.
Yeah, man. And it was during a Cubby game, it was a day game.
It was during the game?
Yeah, and they shot all this stuff, and there was all this script, and it was like a bunch of, I wish I could get a copy of it somehow. And then I remember Harry Carey's like booth was like right over here.
Who's that kid?
Yeah, and he somehow comes in I think he was a little... It was later in the game, yeah. And he somehow like ends up at our booth, like I'm just kidding. That's the world's worst. That's just
it's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
It's like he ends up at our booth and like I'm the wrong spot, to get some of there. That kind of sounded more like Barney from Simpsons.
It's okay. You're forgiven. No one knows how to actually nail it except for like
Will
one
Ferrell,
guy.
man.
Exactly.
Will Ferrell, perfection.
So what happened? So you shot this thing, and no one said anything about you wearing a Sox hat.
No, I mean I did it as an act of social protest, and then I did put it away. So because they had some like shirt or something I had to wear, Yeah.
I'm curious because your parents, right? They have to be super involved in all this stuff that you're doing. Is your brother an actor too?
My brother Dan did a play at school. It was young, like The Bride of Frankenstein or something like that. And I saw him on stage and I was like, yeah, he's really good. I'm going to do it better. I think that's kind of how
he's the older brother, huh?
You have brothers, I was like,
that's awesome.
He's really good. He's getting a lot of applause. I'm gonna get involved
One
in
up
this.
on That's cool, though. That's the reason.
And I remember him, and I still remember that play. It was the first time I ever saw like theater, and it was him and his best friend. Like I knew everybody up there, and it was like so good. They were so funny, and I was like, man, that looks like fun. And then I think like a little after that, it was in like an ad in the paper. There used to be an ink column in the, you open the Tribune, right? And it'd be like the back page, the back of the front page, and it was like blurbs about Hollywood, which I don't know why I'd read it. I don't know, I just would read it. And then like
you were a kid.
I was a kid. I'm 9 years old. And there was a little blurb saying like they would come into town to do these huge cattle calls.
Sure.
Because they wanted real kids. So when they wanted real...
they go to the Midwest.
Yeah, they were like, I'm not going to hire some child actor with a, slave driving parent out in California or something like that. Right. Or a stage mom, whatever that stuff is.
I feel like, I don't know if that's still going, but that's interesting. Okay.
Well, I think, most when you're a kid, you're not really... You're just looking for somebody who's just naturally free of who they are.
Sure.
Sure. And that, and so they would go all over to try to find that.
Sure.
And at least that's what they did then. And then it was for a Gary Marshall movie called Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
You were in Overboard?
No.
I was about to say because I don't remember you, and that is like that's a classic.
They said redheads with freckles, and I was like, I get red hair. I was reading the paper. I'm 9. And the only reason we went is because my mom wanted to go to downtown to Michigan Avenue Miracle Mile. She wanted to go to the newly opened Water Tower Mall or whatever.
Oh,
it was,
wow.
Right? It was next to the Drake. It was in the Drake. And
this is like 89?
This has got to be 88, 87.
Yeah.
87. It's 87. And we thought we'd only be there for like a half hour. And then they'd be able to go do Christmas shopping. And her and her best friend, Linda Everett, and Angie Everett, who was like Linda's daughter. And, we were all just, it was crazy. Like we were all... We all just went down there. They wanted to go shopping.
This was happenstance.
It's
almost.
happenstance.
And this was
the only reason we went was because my mom wanted to go shopping.
Well, no, it was because you saw something in the paper, and then she was like, let's just make a day of it.
Yeah. And then we went, and it was like you waited for hours. My introduction to Hollywood was waiting for hours, total, like, get it brought to the 1 yard line and then dropped on your head. Yeah. And it's been the same ever since.
Well, you learned it early.
You know, and they were like Polaroids, and I remember they lined us up, and I was like, this is weird. I felt like I was like being like taken to my death squad or something.
Yeah, it's like the Green Mile. It's crazy.
It's not good, you know. And then they line us up, and they were snapping these Polaroids, and they were you're going, you're staying, and then there was like this selection, and then like there were only like a couple of us left, and then there were like a handful of us left, and we all kind of looked the same but like different heights.
It must have been weird as a kid.
Weird, you know.
It must have been so weird.
And then they were like, come back tomorrow and meet Gary Marshall and work on these lines, and I remember meet him in
well, that's cool.
At the Drake. I made him laugh. He told me, "You're funny, kid. Get an agent." And we looked in the phone book in the Yellow Pages and looked up the first one alphabetically, David and Lee, which I don't know if they're still in business, but they're in business a long, long time. And Marcia Becker was my first agent, and I'm
at the Drake too.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool, dude. There's so much like classic history in Chicago that
man.
literally started you up.
Yeah, and then like I literally booked my first commercial. My first 2 auditions were for the Mickey Mouse Club and Home Alone, and I went like. I kind of got like far in each of them, and I remember they gave me Mickey Mouse ears, but I couldn't sing. I tried to sing. I was so scared to sing Zippity Doodah, and I was.
Do you want to show them up right now?
Oh God!
Let them have a shot.
No.
Let them go. Let them
I
go
was
to hell.
so nervous, man. I was like Zippity Doodah, Zippity Day. And I was good. I was funny. I was all the thing. I was just trying to sneak as long as I could. And I sing now, but I was like, And then they were like,
that's the funny thing.
As soon as I sang, it was like, done. And they gave me the mouse ears.
Who gives a shit? You showed them. You did all right.
But I was so scared, man. I remember. And then the second one was Home Alone. I went all the way to the end on that. They gave me a role, and like my first commercial was with Anna Klumsky was in my first commercial, speaking of Chicago, right?
That's cool.
And we were like friends for a lot of time. We would like our moms. We'd often get paired. They were like, I want to say like there's 3 or 4 spots we did together. But you'd have to ask her. We'd have to check our collective memory on that.
Well, I feel like a lot of times, like at that age,
there were only a handful.
Exactly.
Joe Sikora.
That's cool.
He was one of that group. Joe was a little older than us, and Joe. I always thought Joe was like, he was cool, man. He was like a boxer, and he was a couple years older.
He still looks like a badass. Yeah. It's crazy. But it's funny, though, because you guys kind of had to grow up together in a way because you're always going to the same auditions, the same kind of things.
And we were all, like, the doors were open because of Fred Savage and the Savage. And then, like, they were, like, John Cusack, and everything was coming out of Chicago. And, like, so it was, like, the perfect moment to, like, get
That's
lucky.
Awesome. That's so cool.
You know, and then I that was like right after that I did commercials, and somehow I got on the cover of Chicago magazine, and like I held an Oscar because that's when they did an article about like all the kids in the Chicago, and I remember I got interviewed, and it was such a strange time, man.
That's so cool.
Balancing that in regular school.
So that's the crazy part is that you never moved to L.A. at that time. You were in Chicago. You just would.
Well, I mean South Holland.
Well,
we would drive.
No, I'm going to give you the credit, okay? This is the show now. This is the show.
This is the show I got to be honest on.
No. This is a show. It's like, okay, I'll give you the credit. It's okay. But what's funny is though you didn't have to go anywhere, but except for Home Alone, I thought they shot the exteriors mostly in Chicago, but then the interiors. Did you ever fly out to LA for the shoot?
No, I mean most of that role, there were so many kids in that movie. I mean, there were so many, right? So, and I think we all just like auditioned for Kevin, every one of us. And then there were like a handful of us left at the end. And I remember the call back, whatever it was. And this is obviously years ago, but like it was at that John Hughes studio place that was the old New Trier High School. Right, which is New Trier. I think had 2 high schools, and Downers. My buddy was up from that way. Is it Downers Grove? I don't forget.
No, New Trier is
in
it's not
Wilmette.
It's
Wilmette.
Or Winnetka.
Winnetka. It's Winnetka or Wilmette, right? Mm-hmm. So and they had 2 of them, right? And so they had too many high schools, and so one of them he ended up taking advantage of, and they closed one and made it, and that's where they did Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And I remember like, holy shit, this is where they shot Breakfast Club. And then we were waiting in the library where like they were. That was the waiting room. And I'm like,
that's cool.
And then like Chris Columbus was like, comes out. And I remember they were so good. Like that guy was such a good director with kids because we were all sitting there And he says, hey, everybody's going to have a role in this movie, so nobody should be nervous.
That's awesome.
Because he knew he was dealing with 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, you got to make them confident early on, or else they're going to break. Yeah,
you already won. Everybody's going to have something in this movie. And then I ended up getting like this tiny little part. And all of it was shot in Chicago. My first day on set was at O'Hare Airport, and which they had just remodeled the United Terminal. And I was telling my lady the story the other day. My introduction to Hollywood was John Hurd, the great John Hurd.
Yeah, rest in peace on that one. I had a friend who worked with him, and she said nothing but great things.
And I somehow show up on set. They've taken over O'Hare. Yeah. Like that's the audacity of the movie business. Yeah. Is like the entire thing was just closed, and they had trucks just lined up where people would be parking and where you should be dropping off like thousands of cars a day. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I get dropped off. My dad's like or my mom just drops me off in the station.
What the hell is this place?
And they've got to figure out where to park. Right. And so they just drop me there. And I'm standing here and I end up in a booth. And they're like, you're supposed to go in here, kid. And I end up waiting in this makeup department for like 20 minutes and no one's there. And I'm like, and it's like a ghost town. And then John Hurd walks in and he looks a little ragged. And like it had been a long night. And it was an early morning. And he's just shaving. And I was like, I look at him, he's like, and it's just the two of us in this makeup trailer in like the departure terminal of the United, and there's no cars, and they've just taken it over. I'm like, this is a strange world.
Oh
man.
My God. Was he cool with you though?
Oh yeah, everybody was nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then
because you were like a cousin, or it was
there was a whole storyline in that was we were shooting in Chicago, but it was supposed to be Paris, right? And like so, there's a whole storyline that was like the family in Europe that they were going to be visiting,
right?
And like
everyone's like watching TV in the motel room or whatever.
And there's a bunch of scenes or a couple of scenes, and they just cut them all out because when they tested the movie, they realized everybody just wanted to stay
on Kevin.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that, right? So this is my introduction. Talking about introduction. So my old man, my dad, like River Oaks Theater in Calumet City. Which was where my best friend worked at. We'd sneak in all the time. So they had in the old theater, number 7 and 8. You know, that was the big one. That's where Home Alone was gonna be. And my dad got a bunch of tickets. We had like 2.
We're gonna see our son.
And because my brother Marty worked there, we like taped out a couple of things or something like that. I might be mixing 2 stories there. But we take the thing. There's a whole bunch of people there, but it makes a good story. And so and the whole damn thing. And then I'm not in the damn thing. Like I'm totally cut out except for like 3 seconds in the background.
You should, but those are the best 3 seconds, man. You could. Yeah. That's what you tell everybody. Like, no, I was in that movie. When you make a movie of any kind, I'm sure Chris, like the entire crew, is probably like, you're a part of this. You are made of this. So, did you do the cast? And were you part of the cast and crew screening? Like,
I don't know if I went to I remember there was a ticket to go to the home. I keep wanting to say Home Depot.
Yeah,
the Home Depot. The Home Depot 1 or 2.
The Home Alone with
and I think I got a ticket to it, but I think I was, I don't think I felt like a part of, because I was only a little bit of it, and I didn't want to go. I was like scared. I had that like kind of like, maybe it's I was only there for a couple of days. I was part of the Paris family, and gotcha. So I didn't go to that one. No.
You're always going to be a part of that history. Like, whether or not you even think it's, I was there for 3 seconds. I think that's the coolest thing.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And Home Alone, till this day, is like a holiday everything. You were in that thing.
I've been in a few, like, it's crazy to think, like, I've been in 3, for different reasons, iconic, franchises. One was, obviously, like, you got the Ducks franchise, you got Home Alone, and then Sorry Murder, Next Murder, which is like a cult classic.
That was with Mike
Myers, Alan Arkin, the great Phil Hartman.
That's amazing.
Anthony Paglia, Brenda Fricker, amazing. Amanda Plummer. Crazy.
No, it was amazing.
Nancy Travis. it's a great cast. Yeah.
So but I wanted to transition because I think you did Mighty Ducks right after, or not too far after Home Alone.
Well, I did The Babe, right? Because there was that John Goodman movie.
The Babe.
Because that was cool because they took over, like, I think they went into like the Logan Mark. Was it like Logan Square? What's that? It's like where all the like Logan Market. What is that? Like West Loop.
There's the West Side, yes.
Where all the restaurants and
Fulton Market.
Fulton Market.
Yeah.
It was around that area. They like turned it all into like. They put dirt on the ground, and they made it look like the 1920s. And,
that's awesome.
And that was, and that's where I got, I played some kid on the street, like, who was asking, like, that, because I guess Babe Ruth always wanted to have kids in his car, so I did that. And then I did Mo Money out of Chicago that Arthur Hiller directed, with the Wayans brothers, and I think I said fuck you to Wayans, Marlon Wayans. That was my line in that. That's a 10-year-old.
That's like a.
I had no idea that Arthur Hiller. Like I didn't know who Arthur Hiller was then. That's a legend comedic director, right?
That's so cool though.
And then after that, so I kept doing commercials, going to school, doing the deal, and then Mighty Ducks showed up. And
how old were you when you did Mighty
14,
Ducks?
15.
So you just started. You were at Thornwood, didn't you?
Thornwood High School.
Yeah. So that must have changed everything in school. Like once people started seeing that stuff.
I mean, you're a freshman to begin with, or I'm a freshman, and I'm a late bloomer, and now I'm a movie star. Like that's a weird combo.
What was that like? I'm just curious.
It's funny. A bunch of us from the Ducks were all stuck in Boston a little while ago. We were doing like a Comic-Con thing, and it was like, and we all had a talk afterwards. And it was a couple of the guys in the movie that, like, when we were teenagers, I didn't feel cool enough around, and like we realized now that we're grown ass adults, like we just had this like deep talk about what it meant to grow up with all that stuff, and we realized how similar our experiences were.
Yeah,
we're having some pizza. We were in Boston. Like Fenway Park is right over. We were all waiting for the airplane, and somebody, I forget which one of the guys said, I'll just let him leave nameless, one of the Ducks, and like he said, hey man, I didn't feel comfortable at home. And I didn't feel comfortable on set, and like I didn't feel like I was enough of a movie star, and I also didn't feel like I fit in at school. And I leaned forward and I was like, that was exactly my experience. Like I which is weird. Like I thought, like, because I always thought these guys were all like the Hollywood kids, right?
Yeah, right.
And it turned out that this dude had the same feeling, and I spent like all this time thinking I wasn't like I didn't fit in either. And it turned out he had the same experience.
I can only imagine that most people around that age have the same thing, because again, you didn't just come out of nowhere necessarily, but that was a huge role, and I can only imagine.
I mean, we didn't know we were making the Mighty
No,
Ducks,
of course. I don't think anybody ever knows, but once you do it and you go back to school, everyone's probably doing hey swing bada bada and all that, all your one-liners or whatever it is too, and you're probably like, dude, I want to go to math class and feel normal.
I mean, luckily it was a big school.
So you could kind of.
I mean, we had like 400 and some odd people in each class, and I remember my dad made me work at Aurelio's Pizza.
Where pizza?
Aurelio's.
Yeah,
it's all over the suburbs. In my opinion, the greatest pizza. Barnaby's is the second best.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You're the third.
Yeah.
I've begged people to just know what I'm talking about with thin crust Barnaby's pizza.
Real Chicago style.
Thank you.
I went to Gino's over here, and God love him, man. I just.
It's not the same, but it's okay. Have you gone to Masa?
I do. I was actually one of the testers at Masa because I lived in Echo Park.
That must have been a minute ago.
12, 14 years ago or 15 years ago, and like the guys that all ran that place, and like Tom and you should have those guys on. And they're a bunch of Chicagoans that ran that spot.
Yeah, I know.
And but I used to live in the neighborhood, and I'd be writing in the cafe and like having coffee, and then I remember they were like, hey, we're gonna do this, and I used to be one of the like I felt honored that I got to be one of the tasters.
That's
and
cool.
Testing the damn thing.
Masa's great. It really is. Right now, I'd say that's probably my number one out here.
Oh yeah, he gets people to test the ovens because they're special ovens for out of
like Chicago. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah. And I grew up on Barnaby's. I grew up on the north side.
So Barnaby's and there's a big rift in our family because my brother married into a Barnaby. There's a Barnaby Aurelio's mix, so that's like it's a battle, and we all worked.
People have become socks. You guys have pizza problems.
Yeah, I mean, we worked at Aurelio's, like all my brothers and I, and I remember I got done with Ducks, and it was like my dad's like, you're gonna do this so you don't get too big a head, and
dude, that is so Chicago. Bless your father's head. That's amazing.
So I remember I was washing dishes and breaking down the sausage thing called the hog, where you like, oh god, that's the worst.
That's disgusting, by the way.
Yeah, and I worked every job at the South Island Aurelio's. Like I did them all. I even delivered pizzas there when I was in college, and it was like it was like a refuge to me because it was like a place where no man, like I think always part of me resisted the Hollywood shit. Like I love acting. And it was like a place where I was just a guy. I was just like my brother John says, it's like, he's a good guy. That's a South Side compliment. You know what I mean? And like, and so it's, he's a good guy. Like that's like,
yeah, it's like you don't have to say more. It's not like he's a beautiful, no.
Like if you're in Cicero, that's a statement. You know what I mean? know,
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. And so it's like,
That's so
so
funny.
that place, like, it was like a refuge to me, you know, like, because it was such a volatile industry and business, and I'd be like a millimeter away from a job here and a millimeter away from a job there, and then like my dad would say geographically undesirable, you know. And then,
but Mighty Ducks, where was it filmed?
in Minneapolis.
It was in Minnesota, so it wasn't BS. It actually was in Minnesota.
It absolutely was. Ducks 1 and 3 were shot.
2, there was
entirely.
L.A., right?
Yeah, 2 was mixed L.A. and Minnesota.
So when you were in high school, did you have to get tutored in that whole bit?
Yeah, I remember like my freshman year. So I get Mighty Ducks, and it's the same year my dad got corporate downsized from Comstock, which was this company out in Hillside.
Yeah, I've heard of Comstock.
And he was there for 30 years or something like that, and he got replaced by some computer stuff. And like, I remember he loses his job like 3-4 weeks before I get Mighty Ducks. It was a really weird time, man. Like, that's confusing. And then my mom's school closed. It was a weird year, you know. And like but because of like, talk about you never know if it's good or bad luck. Because my dad was in like, and he was like, before he got his next job, he had that gap and he was looking for work. And then that's when I booked this significant role. No one would have been able to go with me. It was the middle of the year.
It was like,
it was wintertime.
Serendipitous moment for him.
So yeah. And so he got to, and I still think, oh man, we would like at night, cause that's going back to the school thing. It was like, I'm a freshman in high school. And I think my dad, we've talked about it recently, like, cause he knew he fell behind in school when he was younger. And so he was not going to let that happen. Like, I remember we were up in Minneapolis and it was just, we were away from home, you know, and he's juggling like the uncertainty of his own life. Right. And we're up there and I remember like he'd give me an allowance. I'd get
in Minnesota
because we get this cash. You know, they give you cash when you're on location. This per diem,
really?
like, all this. Like,
even as a kid.
Oh yeah, you get per diem when you're
but
on.
nobody's handling your money. It's you?
No, they give it to my dad.
Okay.
My dad would give me like $5 a day.
Okay, good.
You know?
So he was controlling you.
Oh yeah, and I remember like I was like, and I wanted to spend it on hockey cards. I was like,
yeah, dude.
And so, but he at night he would we would work. We would do the movie shit, and then like we'd come home to the place we were at. And my dad and I would fight over my algebra homework. Cause he was a numbers guy. He was a purchasing agent for many years, and he's like, his comfort zone is a piece of graph paper, right? You know, and I was never good at that shit. And like, but he was so like, hey, you're not gonna fall behind on school on my watch. And it's like freshman year, it's big change, and like I think now back on that time, like that like helped me get in Northwestern 4 years later. Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing.
So
I don't know. I love these little. This is the most Chicago conversation ever, because really that's exactly what
Chicago.
a Chicago dad would do.
Yeah.
It's not. Hey, I don't care what you're doing on the big screen. You don't do this math homework. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in D2. There
no,
won't
I mean
be.
that's it. Like I was telling my lady, we were home because my dad we were visiting my pop, and he lives out in Northwest Indiana now with the Phipps, the fucking Illinois people, right? And so we're out there.
That's what you call them?
That's the story out
I've
there.
never
Oh, you never heard
that
that?
term.
Oh yeah, all the locals,
Phipps.
the locals who live like, you know, in the unzoned parts
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Dyer and Cherville and all that, and they have those
Now
big
they're-
rustic
now they're
properties, and now it's just like it's like a zoo. The traffic there is worse than it is out here because the roads aren't made for the amount of people that are
The
out there.
Phipps.
And they call us, the Illinoisans who come over there, Phipps, right?
I've never heard that.
So we were over there, and my buddy Ryan, who lives out there now too, and he's like, and I love it. I was telling my lady, I was like, this is what I love about my friend Ryan, because I got almost like I got like a script I'm trying to shovel over here, and it's just like didn't happen. This is over here. I might sell here, and like I'm almost getting sued. It's like this is just nuts, crazy Hollywood shit, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm somehow juggling 3 different adjunct jobs to stay afloat, and you know any of these things could be life changing, career shit, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. And he just goes, "Hey, how's that work stuff coming?"
I love it.
It's just that's it. That's like,
It grounds it.
hey,
so much.
how's that work stuff coming? And I'm like, hey, it's good.
Yeah, you're not gonna go, Dad, I have so many problems. I don't really care. You figure it out. You're out there. You're a man.
And that's when you said it. There's nothing more Chicago than that. Like,
I love it.
I have a couple of buddies that are really tight, and mentor figures who work in Hollywood, who are Chicago, you know, at the core. And man, you know, it keeps you right sized.
No, it's great. It's really great. Where's your lady? You keep on saying are you married? Or
No, we're not married.
Where's she from?
All over. She's a mutt. So she's
Okay.
like her parents were like from different parts of the
But
world.
definitely not Chicago.
No, God no.
But you take her back.
We just went back. Yeah.
That's awesome. Does she like it?
Yeah.
This is her first
she
time or
actually
no?
ate a beef, man.
Oh God.
She ate an Italian beef.
She's
and
not
she
a
passed the
typical
test.
California girl.
No, God no.
God no. Otherwise, she'd be dropped at the side of the street.
No, she's a carnivore, man.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah, she ate a beef. She passed the test. So,
Did you take what part of the year was this?
This was in the middle of winter. So this was just
I was gonna say if
recently.
you took her to a Sox game, but no, obviously not.
No, we did go to a Sox game. I make an annual pilgrimage down to Anaheim.
Oh,
So I always
there
try
you
to go. And we were there. And that was the night somebody hit a grand slam. I forget it. It was a good night this year. We won. Because usually, like, I'll go down there and we don't win.
Well, in the last couple of years, it's been a little tough. But I think this is going to be a different year.
Oh, I agree.
For the Sox.
Yeah.
Cubs aside, I don't know. They don't know what they're doing yet. I don't know.
I actually think they got a good shot.
You know what? If they can figure it out, new manager, who knows?
Old man Ross, man. Old man Rivers directing that ship.
It made me happy because they've been having all these trade issues and whatever with.
Well, they can't. They don't know if they're selling off or trying to.
Right.
Which is a tough place to be as an organization.
But what's weird is that one of the greatest things. I don't know why we as fans read into like little quotes, but I did. And there was a big, I guess, pep speech that Grandpa Rossi said, and Chris Bryant's exact quote was, "When I heard that, I wanted to run through a wall." And I just thought to myself,
I believe it.
If that's the way everybody feels, there's a shot.
I actually think they have a shot because of the fact that everybody's writing them off. Like, there's a little bit of like, there's so much. See, now that's another Chicago thing. Like, I love that people underdog the White Sox. Like, I love.
Well, that's why a lot of White Sox
we're the
fans,
second city. I love that. Like, there's this sense that, like, to me, like the underdog, like tell an Irishman that you can't do something, and it's like
they'll do
thank you, bring it, right? So
so
I love that people are like for the fact that everybody's looking at the other teams right now, and I'm like, that's a good sign because then they can.
But that's why the White Sox, I think, fans have always hated the Cubs because everyone always looked at the Cubs and Sox were like, okay, you guys can be our lovable whatevers. We're going to go over here and, have Frank Thomas and stuff.
Yeah, because they could suck and still people can go to the games. And
which, by the way,
because they don't work for a living. That's what Sox fans. We look at you
guys are
you
grinding.
Northsiders. It's like you go eat your sushi and
it is weird though. Why is everybody always a Wrigley? I don't know. It is a weird thing.
It's the friendly confines. It's now it's one of the only left in the. Jesus, it's one of the only ones left in the.
Well, I just can't stand the fact that Comiskey, which I still call Comiskey.
I still call Comiskey.
Yeah, because guaranteed rate field just is horrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not. But
I call it New Comiskey Park.
Yeah, New Comiskey.
Yeah, sometimes I'll say Kaminsky because I used to think it was Kaminsky, not
when
Comiskey.
you were a kid. Yeah, of course.
So.
I thought so too. I don't know why that is, but you're right. But I mean, the sell I was able to handle for a little bit, but never.
Yeah.
Guaranteed rate.
They must. I hope they gave a lot of money for that.
Oh no, exactly. I was going to say like
you should get sponsored by Guaranteed Rate. This could be like the Guaranteed Rate Chiaspora.
Hi, Guaranteed Rate. I didn't completely just bash your title. Come and get me.
You don't have me on, dude. I'll if you want to sponsor, don't have Doherty on. Or
exactly. It's okay. Yeah. It's all right. We're gonna get water sponsorship with you. I always. I guess I'm always still thinking about. Sorry to go back to it, but I want to go with the trajectory of how you actually moved out here because that's also a big part of how one of the reasons I started this is the idea of I felt like I had to move, but what's weird is that for a long time you were still in Chicago and you didn't have to move.
Yeah,
you were doing all this acting. How often did you have to fly to LA for anything? I feel like rarely.
I only came out here when when it was Ducks 2, man. And then there was I came out here for a couple of screen tests.
What about for
in a Kodak commercial that they shot at Disneyland, and that was really it.
What about the
Axe Murderer? That was up in San Francisco, yeah.
Oh, so you did okay, so you did have to do that.
But no, I came out here after I'm 18 years old, I'm on the set of Ducks 3. a couple of really great theater actors. Jeff Nordling, who's now a dear friend of mine, and he was on Desperate Housewives recently and all that. And he's a great actor, but he was in Ducks 3, and he is a great stage actor, And he would see me like reading some stuff about like plays and shit, and he's like, "You should go leave this business, go. You're a real artist." He kind of spotted like that I'd be like reading. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I was reading like Time Bends by The Life Story of Arthur Miller.
Yeah,
so it's kind of saying maybe this kid needs to leave.
There were no comic books. That's interesting.
So he's like, "Hey, you should go to school and leave the shit and go get an education." And
good for him.
And so I always like to thank Jeff, and because I think he might have saved my ass, saved my life for sure. And yeah.
But save your life. I mean,
just got
dark
me
days.
Just got me off the track that happens with a lot of us. And so I left and went to Northwestern.
Yeah.
And then like that's where I kind of learned that I really was like that I like to like do theater and tell stories and stuff. And then there was this crossroads to go to New York or LA. Or stay in Chicago. And I remember there was a great Chicago actor I met on the street, and I didn't know if I was going to stay, because I had that like, man, I want to be here. I love the city. Yeah. And then, but something told me I needed to come out to LA. And I remember I ran into a great Chicago actor, and who we had the same agent, and who I'll leave him nameless. And like, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing up here in Evanston? And are you working at the Northlight Theater or something like that?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to my day job." And this guy was like one of the top, like the top, in terms of Chicago actors.
You have to tell me afterward who you're thinking of. I'm curious who this is.
And I was like, oh. And I think I was young, and I was like, okay, if this is the peak, and like at then I didn't realize that like fucking Bach, Beethoven had day jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
So I was like, I'm coming out to LA, because I was like, I don't want to.
You don't want to.
And I thought I'd come out here and make a buttload of money or whatever it was, and or like I'd change the world and somehow manage to create a theater out in the countryside and funnel all my money into, which I still think is a great dream. Like I always wanted to like make a bunch of money like Robin Hood and funnel it into a couple of theaters and stuff, and then it's just taken longer than I thought it would.
No, dude, what people don't realize is that
I was 22.
Oh, dude. Yeah, man. Well, because again, your track record obviously was like, hey, you've done more shit than most who come out here, even from whatever. So, but when you got out here, did you have the same agent and everything? Yeah,
I was still with Getty's, which is man, yeah, Getty's is a great. I mean, everybody was with Getty's at some point or another. And I think Anne and Elizabeth Getty's ran it. And there was a huge article in the Tribune did about them too. And they represented John C. Reilly, everybody, all of us, all the Chicago town was with, at one point or another, was with Getty's. And there used to be a joke would be that everybody would leave Getty's, right? And like right when their career would pop. And so that was, I remember I came out here and I booked my first audition. And again, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, you're like, you're on a roll.
It was ER. It was a roll on ER. And we're like busted my like dad's Mustang or something like that. And somehow the surgery goes bad, but then I'm okay.
For all you young kids who don't know what ER is, it's one of the greatest hospital shows.
It was, yeah.
It was amazing.
And I remember like George Clooney. This is like a huge movie star, and I remember he was playing basketball, and they were all like, I was like, this guy's cool. He's playing with the crew.
That's awesome.
And that was a really great gig, man. And that was in 2000, 2001. And then I booked a couple of TV shows. Like it was always a bunch of guest stars, and then like I was on Boston Public. I was on. Oh man, I used to do a lot of all the interrogation shows, CSI shows. It was always the same scene, man. I did something weird and bad, but I didn't do the thing you think I did. It was like, or I'm the computer guy.
Yeah, you got glasses, of course. You're the computer guy.
Yeah, like I was on Felicity. I remember being on Felicity the day that J.J. Abrams got that overall deal, and nobody knew J.J. I mean, he was just this dude, and like I remember I was on set and everybody was congratulating me. He had got this huge overall deal, which was unprecedented then. And then And now I love because I'll go around and people will think I'm J.J. Abrams.
Oh, man.
Because I'm like, I guess I look like him somehow. And so once in a while I'll be like, yeah, thank you for liking my show. And I totally play along with it.
Paychecks are going to this envelope.
Exactly.
That's really funny, actually. But you're doing music now.
Yeah,
as well.
I just started playing music when I was in between takes and stuff, and then playing the guitar, and then I finally learned how to tune it. I think I was 20 when that's what I really started playing bluegrass and folk music and jug band shit. And then I hooked up with a couple other actor friends, and we learned how to sing harmony by pure repetition and not talent.
Yeah, it wasn't zippity doo dah. It was real.
No, but like when we and then we were like we released records over a while, and then we all kind of got busy in lives, and one guy became a school teacher, and then now we're back. We like to say we're reunited like God, a mission from God. We're called the middle class. We used to start our gigs off with the middle class. We're the middle class, or what's left of it. And then my buddy Clem would like play this washboard with his fingers.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we're back in the studio recording. I did a couple of folk records. I recorded one in Sweden, and
wow.
I lived over Sweden for about a year. When you're like famous at 18, you tend to like live your life backwards, and like, you know, I mean, it's weird.
Jump into the things that you feel like you wish you could have at the time.
It's kind of like I was driven around in a limousine and then drove the limo in that order. So it's like, that's a very unique perspective on life. So it's.
But you went to Northwestern. Yeah. You did. I feel like you had good parents. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
That's what you got to attribute it to. I can't imagine if you're like you said, if whether your mentors or family didn't step in, who knows, right? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like.
I've been very blessed, man.
I feel like I haven't, like I said, I haven't met too many child actors in general, like actually met them. But, you know, the stories you always hear is like, it's because of that crazy fame that they had as young kids that they reject having to be the driver.
Yeah, it's a real thing, man. I mean, entitlement is a real thing. I mean, which I don't. I mean, you have a warp. Your brain and your heart is developing, and then you're on a movie set or whatever it is, and you're somebody go. You have no sense of reality. You know, you just think this is the way things are, and that can be really damaging for a lot of people, especially when it stops. And I have a friend, one of my dear friends, Sean Weiss from the Ducks days, and you know, Sean's on the street right now and experiencing homelessness. I love that phrase, experiencing homelessness. Instead of calling people homeless, they're saying this is an individual experiencing homeless.
Do you ever reach out to the guy?
Yeah, we've tried to help him many times, and he's you know, he's on his path, and like
he played Goldberg.
He played Goldberg in Ducks, and we were inseparable. We come and visit each other's families, and
I keep on seeing his freaking mugshot. This is the worst thing.
Yeah, I went and saw him on heavyweights when there was Judd Apatow's first thing, and
the greatest.
And I remember Steve Brill was like, "I can't have you on heavyweights. You're fat, but you're not that fat." And I was like, "Steve, you're so," so we were like best friends, man. But like I remember we still are, even though he's on doing what he's doing. But I remember he was on my floor, and I let him kick on my floor for a day. He was going in somewhere. It's a Chandler Lodge, which is like a rehab place out here, and there's a great organization that's affiliated with the union called the Actors Fund, which has helped me out over the time, and I've tried to give money back too when I've had. So I always like to plug the Actors Fund. It's been around for a long time, and they have social workers. They help out. They help out their own. They helped out a lot of actors during the housing crisis. And not just actors, like people who work in the industry, as long as you can prove that you work in the industry. And
that's awesome.
Somehow they got him into a rehab, and it was going to be this, and he had to get 24 hours in order to do it. So he's at my place, and I kind of like did a little intake on him, make sure he was, you know, not going to die on my floor. And I remembered, and it was like we were 12 again, you know, 15, 14 years old. And where it was like, you know, when you had like a sleepover with your friends and like the lights, you turn the lights on, we were like talking.
Yeah, of course.
And we're like grown ass dudes, you know, and
hey, what's
and
going
he was
on?
he was kind of there and kind of not, and in that kind of moment, he's like, man, trouble didn't start for me till I stopped working, and I remember my heart broke a little bit because I know he believed that, and I also knew it wasn't true. but because he believed it, it was true.
Nah, that's depressing as shit.
Yeah. But so it's a real thing, man, and like, but at the same time, like, there's people who have trouble with that shit who work at steel mills and factories, you know. But when you have the amount of resources that and a buddy of mine is actually doing a movie to challenge all that. Like, he's trying to do a documentary called Stigma, all about child actors and like trying to change the thing, and he's trying to get all of us, getting a whole bunch of people to talk and like go like about how we're not all just fucked up, you know.
Well, what I think is really good is
that everything's more nuanced than we think it is, especially in our culture. I think we need to know that today.
No, which is awesome. I was just saying, though, do you still talk to your guys from, I mean, besides the Comic-Cons, do you guys still keep in touch?
Yeah, I mean, like, those events
they keep
help us stay together. Yeah. And, like, but I see, like, I'll see Marguerite Moreau every once in a while. She played Connie on Ducks. Oh, yeah, Eldon. I see Eldon sometimes, too. Eldon Henson and then Garrett, they're great. They're brothers,
really,
yeah.
You know, that's really cool. Yeah. But what's funny is that you in a way, you could always like. I wish Sean would reach out, but it's that idea of like you just said, you can reach out to those guys. Those guys completely understand because you guys did 3 movies together.
It was like
and you guys are tied in. There's a little fraternity, with a couple
it's like
girls.
Kids you played in a hockey team. If you were on your own team, you know, or whatever, they're like you grew up. That's like our own little school. So, you know, even though I mean. My dad would say, like, there's no friends you have like the friends you had when you were a kid. And so there's a version of that for sure because it's just shared experience. Yeah. You know? Like, I just wanted to play Little League Baseball. Yeah. And then I wanted to play Babe Ruth baseball.
Do you still play ball once in a while? Just catch them?
I mean, I played some softball but I'm more of a hockey player, so that's more my sport.
Because in Sherman Oaks, I mean, I go there often to just play ball.
Oh, yeah. And I heard there's a 16-inch league out here somewhere.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. I haven't played it.
It's mythical. It's like it's somewhere in L.A. They move around like ghosts.
Oh, we'll play catch or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Because it's cool, though, that, you know, at least out here, there are a lot of us.
Dude, there's a Chicago contingent out here.
Especially in the Valley, which is amazing. Do your parents ever go, look, if you got to come home, it's okay?
Oh, yeah.
Do you still get that?
I still have to resist the urge to give my life resume every time I call my dad.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, like there's some work coming, and I'm like, you know, because it's just such a nuts. But then I'm like, I've somehow managed to survive this industry for 33 years.
That's a long time here.
But oh yeah, for sure. Like I remember my brother John would go like, hey, all salmon swim upstream. You know, I get you a job at inland. He still calls it inland, but like I forget some Swedish company that owns a steel company now and the steel mill. He's like, I can get you a good job at the blast furnace. You know, it's a good, you know. He goes, I think you'd be really good there.
Oh,
you get along. And
Didn't that drive you crazy in a way? You just
no,
like,
but part of me,
I've done it.
But part of me kind of was like, yeah, it's a really kind of a good place. But like, nah, I mean, I'm out here. I used to think if I went back to Chicago, I'd feel like I had my tail between my legs kind of thing. I don't feel that anymore. I just love living in San Fernando Valley, especially. And but every time I go home, no matter what, even in the winter,
there's a little taster where you're like, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I need some of that fuck you Hollywood money so I can get a brownstone on the other side.
Exactly. Dude, I get it 110%.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't do creative stuff,
it's tough.
You wouldn't want to be around me.
That's what I'm saying.
I would be miserable.
What does your girl do?
She's also does the same stuff.
She's an actress?
We're both fucked.
Yeah.
We have to find a sugar daddy between the two of us.
Why do you live with this other guy? Don't ask questions.
No, she's a creative too. That's the new word. We're creative. Capital C.
It makes
used to be hyphenate. Right. Now you're a creative.
Yeah, you know, it's the same thing as like back in the day. You'd be like, I'm a filmmaker. It's like, no, creative sounds better. You can be all sorts of things. When you go to Chicago, where do you go? What are the things people want to know? Like, what does Matt do?
Oh, my Chicago? Because what I love about
when
Chicago,
you take her in. What do you do? Like, you have like 3 days. What do you do over a weekend?
Well, it depends if I'm showing somebody around who doesn't know it very well or not. I need to have an Italian beef.
Where do you go for that?
I don't mind. I'm not a snob. I mean, I'll go to Buena's. You know.
Okay.
I mean, as long as it's a beef, and I know this might be sacrilegious, I like to get a little red sauce on the side.
It's not sacrilegious. That's okay.
I like to get the jardin there and the sweet and hot peppers. That has to happen.
You are
I
going
need
so
to get a
You're
Chicago
going so
style
Chicago
dog.
in the accent right now. You can say, yeah.
Well, because we're doing it.
We're doing it. We are doing it.
I'm gonna go home and my gal's not gonna recognize me.
Yeah, exactly.
So
why'd you get a gut all of a sudden?
You know, I was talking about sausage and the Hero Factory on the West Side. You know, no, I need to smell the chocolate factory on the West Side. That needs to happen. And I need to have a hot dog for sure.
Where do you go for that?
Snyder's, if possible.
I've
It's
never
called
been to Snyder's.
I don't know if it's Jansen's. I don't know if they're still open, but that's on Beverly. It's in Beverly, like 95th and West. Not want to say Western or something. It's right near my dad's friend Val's old hardware store. It's all.
That's all you know. Dude, that is so
And it's like,
Chicago. You're
it's right near
cross-section.
that Gwendolyn Brooks part of Beverly. You know, Beverly, where all the poetry that she lived in, and Southwest Side.
Okay.
And it was the hot dog stand. But like, I don't care as long as it's a Chicago dog.
Yeah.
I like the Gold Coast one at the Midway Airport for sure because
Sure.
it's right there.
That's the thing is like when you go to the airport, there are a couple spots you can actually
Yeah.
go and get a little Chicago. You get your Garrett's popcorn.
I'm not a big fan actually. I'm not like I have to. It's like I'm not jonesing. I definitely love to go. I usually stay with my brother and my sister-in-law out in Riverside because they live out that way. So I love walking around the loop-de-loop streets and seeing the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff.
That's cool stuff.
I need to be near the lake at some point. My buddy Mike, who I went to college with, we would often want to go up to Northwestern, take a walk around.
I just talked to somebody about this.
Yeah.
Did you go the Rocks?
Oh, the Rock. I remember painting the Rock. Yeah, for sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
like right at like literally at the beach in Evanston area. It's the most beautiful spot.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
And then the lake fill there and all that.
Yep.
If it's the fall time of year and I've timed it right, like I love walking to a game at Ryan. I still call it Ryan or Ryan Field or Dyke Stadium. Ryan Field. I forget what they call
You're
it.
talking
now.
about the football stadium.
Yeah. So like that walk to a game. If it's Sox time, I got to go to Comiskey Park. I love going to see something at Chicago Philharmonic. Obviously, just get on the L and go somewhere and get lost in one of the cool neighborhoods, some record store. You know, I kind of like rediscovering parts of the city that I don't know. And actually, the most thing I love to do, and a lot of what I write is set in the South Side and set in the Southeast Side. Like that part is big in my bones, and it's like in my DNA. So it's I kind of love to drive around like East Chicago, all that old industry factory. I kind of love exploring the ghosts of our city a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you do photography too?
Nah, I mean just in my
It's
mind.
just
I take pictures of my camera and shit. I'm taking mine images in case I ever get that people to go, hey, let's give this kid some money and make some movies, you know? So I got 10.
Do you really? You have 10 screenplays
I
ready to
got
go for
dozens
Chicago?
of scripts, man. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk at some point. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. Honestly, this was awesome.
It's been a blast.
Please tell everybody where people can find your stuff. If you have anything coming up, please plug yourself.
Well, I got a website. It's my name, mattdoherty.net. You can find anything you want there about me. Got a blog I do. You can find there. I'm on Spotify. There's a record I have there under my name, Matt Doherty. And I just had a couple of play readings of mine. We're trying to, knock on wood, find some productions. And other than that, you never know. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, guys, this man is a genius. And I hope you guys at least give him a beef sandwich if you ever run into him. So please.
Just a beef.
Just a beef. Like, yeah.
A combo would kill me. You know, like, I kind of want to have a combo.
Dude, I'm hungry right now, and I ate. But thank you so much, Matt, dude. And thank you very much for watching and listening to Chiaspora. We will see you next time.